Hey, everybody. Al Fragnoli, Zach Sooty, legal leaders coming at you today. We are joined by Chelsea Estes. Chelsea is a communications and journalism teacher at U of D Jesuit High School in Detroit, Michigan. Chelsea, thanks so much for coming on with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for
We're
having me.
Absolutely. We're very excited to have you on. We've got a lot of questions lined up for you. The first one we're going to ask you today is so you've got tons of experience working in sports, working in a wide variety of different leadership roles. You've spent times with the Detroit Tigers and their promotional team for several years. You're currently a communications and journalism teacher, as we mentioned here, for U of D Jesuit High School. And you're also an in-game host and reporter for the United Shore Professional Baseball League located in Utica, Michigan. And you're also a sideline reporter and in-game host for Oakland University Athletics. Talk to us a little bit about teaching. So let's start there first. Talk to us a little bit about teaching. What do you enjoy most about it? And why did you want to become a teacher?
Oh, teaching has always been, it was always in the plans for me. Ever since I was a little girl, I set up school in the basement with my stuffed animals. My mom got me a little school kit and I, pretended I was their teacher. And it just was something that I always wanted to do. So for me personally, I was always in the cards, and actually sports and everything. What I do that thought never even crossed my mind. And so I went to Michigan State, studied teaching, elementary teaching actually. So I started in fifth grade, and then it was fifth and sixth grade. And then I moved to first grade for a little while. I just love, and now I teach high school. So, I've been all over the map, but I just love interacting with the kids each day. You never know what you're going to get, the stories that they're going to tell you, you never know how they're going to, when that light bulb moment's going to go off, and it's just knowing that you have an impact every day is something that I always just really valued. I really, really loved it. It's something that I still enjoy every single day.
That's fantastic. Now, Chelsea, let's transition a little bit into your role in sports. Talk to us about your role with United Shore Professional Baseball League and your time working with Oakland University.
It's kind of crazy how I actually got involved in Oakland and USPBL. I started off teaching, that's all I ever wanted to do. And then there was a moment in time when I kind of said to myself, I don't know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if I have that passion that I once did. So I actually left one of my jobs, and through working at the Tigers, I met so many people and made so many great connections. And one of those people actually helped me kind of get into Oakland University. At least he helped me get an interview. And this was an interview that actually was in Oakland University's athletic department. So I had the interview. It was a phone interview at first. And I knew, I was like, this is not what I expected. This just was not a good fit. And so I didn't get it. But like a few weeks later, I get a phone call from their marketing manager, Scott McDonald. And he said, hey, I know you weren't a fit for the position, but I like your background. I like your personality. Why don't you try sideline reporting? And I was like, wait, what? I've never done that in my life. It was always one of those things when I would go to a Tigers game and I would see the girls on the screen doing the in-game. I was like, I want to do that. I never knew how I was going to do it, but I just knew in my head, like, I want to do that. And so this offer from Scott was my opportunity. So I took it, kind of familiar with basketball, not really. So a lot of it was just kind of throw me into the fire. And you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. And there were some moments when I sank, but those were like really good learning opportunities. I would go back and rewatch my hit, and it sounded great in my head, but when I listened to it, I was like, ooh, you need to work on this and your facts. And it was a huge learning curve. So I was there for like 4 years, I want to say. And Scott, the guy who offered me that position, he left Oakland and he went over to USPBL. And he basically kind of took me with him, per se. He said, hey, why don't you come over, do the in-game hosting there? You can interview players. And then that's where I've been for the past 2 seasons. I'm going on my third now. So it's just been so much fun. Baseball is my favorite sport. I love basketball, love watching basketball, but I love covering baseball way more. And so, again, I just kind of took that opportunity and just ran with it. And it's been so much fun.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Chelsea. So you're currently a very strong female leader. Obviously, the sports industry is surrounded by a lot of males. What advice would you give to women that are looking to get their break in the sports industry?
That's a great question. You know, it's definitely not easy. That is for sure. You know, I think being a woman in sports, people, they don't want to say it, but there's always that kind of almost connotation of, oh, you're a woman. Do you know what you're talking about? Are you sure you are qualified to do this position? And that's kind of been almost motivation for me to really almost, I hate to say, but prove them wrong. Like, yes, I do know the sport. I do understand what's going on. And so as a woman who's interested in getting her feet wet into this field, it's to really just no, like have no limitations. You have to go for every opportunity. You have to be willing to, you know, stick your resume out there, even if you don't feel like you're qualified for the position, but to give it a go. You can't be afraid of getting rejected, and you just have to keep pushing, keep going. I did a lot of, like I said, I never really had true experience. I did a lot of self-teaching. So I did a lot of watching, you know, Sam Ponder, you know, Erin Andrews, like strong women in this field, just to kind of see how they phrase questions, how they project on the screen. So even just little details like that, those are things that I would just casually just watch and study. And I think that's a lot of it's a grind, but I think it's really rewarding. Just if you can't give up, and you got to just prove those people wrong. If you know it, you got it, girl.
So, Chelsea, that's great advice. And one thing you mentioned that I think is very important that we share with some young viewers, and when I speak to students, is we live in a unique time where social media can be a gateway to positive things. You could follow Erin Andrews on social media and see how she carries herself. You get that inside look at how individuals, and you can study them more than ever. So use
Yeah.
it to your benefit. And that's one thing when I get to go to classrooms and talk about, you know, professional development and things like that, you know, use your social media for good and follow the people that you want to emulate and who you want to follow a career path of. And I think that's great that you mentioned that. Now I want to transition to what is your most proud moment in your professional career? I mean, teaching, sports, you got to have quite a few. So what are some of your you know, what makes you most proud?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think truthfully, kind of just looking at where I am now and looking at all the things that I've accomplished. And it's kind of crazy to look at and say, like, wow, you've accomplished quite a bit. Really just I never, like, when I say I never thought that I would ever have the opportunity to be an in-game host or, you know, be a director of promotions for something. It just truly goes to show that possibilities are endless. And, you know, yes, I studied teaching, and then teaching is still my number one passion, but you can still have other passions, and you can still discover these passions later on in life. Like, I didn't get hired at Oakland University, which, you know, the first gig in sideline reporting. I think I was out of college. I taught for 2 years. I was like about 24 maybe when I first started this. And just to kind of see that, you know, take every chance, every opportunity. The connections that you meet will help get you somewhere else. And I think that's truthfully, I really utilize that, and that kind of helps me get to the next stepping stone. And, you know, one accomplishment that I was so much fun, when the Tigers came back for the Winter Caravan, I want to say this was 2016, I want to say, 15 or 16. It was like my first or second year at Oakland University. So I just was kind of getting into the swing of interviewing and all of that. Basically, the Tigers needed a host, and they knew that I had some experience. And so I just reached out. I said, hey, you know, I'm on the energy squad, but if you need me, like I have some experience. And they let me go on the Caravan bus. I got to go around with Justin Verlander, Miguel Cabrera, JD Martinez, Upton. I mean, all those guys to fun locations around Metro Detroit. It was Jared Saltalamacchia. I want to say, you guys remember him?
Yeah, I do.
He was the catcher.
Yeah.
They put, we went to, I want to say it was at the Livonia fire station, and they wanted us to go up in the bucket ladder, right? So I am terrified of heights. So they gave me like a GoPro. They put me in this like fireman's jacket. Jared is also in a fireman's jacket. Him and I look at each other and we both say, we're terrified of heights. So we're going up in this huge ladder. It's snowing, it's windy, and we're holding on for legit dear life, right? That's just one of the moments. But I look back and it's like, wow, like this is really crazy, but really kind of cool. Just going off of, a fluke interview at Oakland University, which gave me this wild opportunity, which led to USPBL, and so many open, opportunities. It's been wonderful. Truthfully, I think that's truly what I've just looking how far I've come and just knowing that, hey, you can truly do anything if you really want to.
That's awesome. I love that advice too. You really can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. And you've done some great things already early on in your professional career, Chelsea. The last question we have for you tonight that we're going to ask you is, Zach and I obviously talk a lot extensively about leadership on our little show here. One thing we have for you is what does leadership really mean to you? And what does it take for somebody to be a very strong leader?
That's such a simple question, but also such a loaded question. And I really thought about it. I think a leader is someone who is not afraid to take risks. And I think a leader is someone who can't be afraid of the word no. If we were afraid of the word no, then you didn't know the answer. So if you always wondered, man, I wish if I would have just applied to this job, like what would the answer be? It could be yes, but people are so afraid of that answer no that they don't try. And I think that's one thing that, I kind of had to just put myself out there at a lot of these opportunities. I just emailed and contacted and said, hey, this is what I got. Like maybe I'm a right fit for this position. Maybe I'm not. Maybe the answer is yes, but it could be no. But if most of the time it has been yes. And I think some people are so afraid of that word no and getting rejected that they don't put themselves out there. And I think a leader is someone who takes those risks and can lead by example, like turning that no into something else, taking it and turning it into a better opportunity. And I think that's something that a great leader stands by. I think that's something I really, truly do stand by. No one likes to be told no, but I think you can also learn about yourself in the process of rejection and turning that into something that could be even bigger and better than the previous opportunity. So I think that's to me that a really good leader can learn from and endure.
That's awesome. Chelsea, you shared so many valuable points with us. You really did. There's a couple things that I really loved, and Zach touched on it a little bit too, but your preparation aspect with you mentioning that you watched Erin Andrews. I just love the fact that you put yourself in a position to really learn from some of those strong female leaders out there so that you had a better chance to be successful in that. I love the fact that you mentioned you use the doubters as motivation. I always look at that as like the Tom Brady effect, right? Just use the doubters as motivation. Zach knows I love Tom Brady. I got to throw him out there all the time.
I love Tom too, truthfully.
But I truly love your background and all the experiences that you shared with us. And one thing that you mentioned there at the very end too, I think so many people are afraid to take chances in life and they're afraid to fail. And you clearly have not been afraid to fail. You've put yourself out there. I'm sure you've heard tons of no's. It's probably helped to get you to the position that you're in today. So, so I loved everything you shared with us, but Zach and I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know you have a million jobs out there, so we can't thank you enough for talking with us and sharing some insight into what you do. But keep doing all the great things that you're doing out there, leading all the young people and the next generation of leaders. And we can clearly tell you have a passion for everything you do. So thank you again for coming on with us today, though.
Oh, no, thank you. It was my pleasure. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you.